So welcome to the March 16th, 2021 joint Concord Carlisle Regional and Concord School Committees meeting. I'd like to call the region to order and have a roll call once Court brings the Concord meeting to order.
Thank you very much. And the Concord Public Schools School Committee meeting is called to order.
Anderson present.
And Booth present.
Bout present.
Ms. Dad present.
Randy present.
And Wilson present. And is there a motion to move to executive session?
I would move. Oh, wait, I have to pull it up. I didn't print it today. I will move that the Concord School Committee and Concord Carlisle Regional School Committee will enter into executive session under Purpose 2 of the Open Meeting Law to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel. And Purpose 3 of the Open Meeting Law to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and return to open session at 7 p.m.
I'll second that.
Boy, you know, I've gotten such a skill at reading this. What am I going to do with that skill when I'm done with the school committee? Taken years of practice. Anyway, sorry, roll call.
Yeah, we vote. Anderson, aye for both.
Booth, aye for both.
About aye for both.
Ms. Dad, I for both.
Randy, I for both.
Wilson, I for region, and we still don't have Eva. Okay.
Okay.
See you
Very
all
good.
there. Okay. It's 7 o'clock. Welcome back to the open session of the Joint School Committees meeting on March 16th. This meeting is being recorded. I did see Linda here. I didn't see Amy, but people are coming in. Actually, since people are still coming in, Linda, I know sometimes we put you very early on. Is it okay if we go through public comment just to make sure that everybody's here to hear you guys?
Yeah, that's fine. I also want to say that Amy does have a prior family commitment tonight, so she won't be able to make it.
Thank you.
Okay. So we'll start with public comments as our agenda states. Few reminders. Please use the raise hand button on the participant tab to let yourself be known if you want to speak. If you have trouble using the participant tab, just turn on your video and hopefully we will see you and be able to recognize you. So please let us know who you are, your name and address when you begin speaking. New speakers and returning speakers speaking on a new topic have 3 minutes to speak. I'll let you know when time is, you can begin to conclude your remarks. If you are returning on the topic you're speaking on previously, you will have 1 minute to speak. And as a reminder, this is not a dialogue with school committee. It's a chance to express your ideas, your thoughts, your questions, concerns. And we are listening, but please don't expect an immediate answer or response. So with that, let's go to the participant list. Anybody who would like to speak in public comment?
I'm not seeing anybody, Sarah.
Neither am I. Okay, I think then I'm going to conclude the public comment and welcome happily Linda with a student update.
Well, hi, everyone. I hope you all had a great week. I had just finished my March Madness bracket prior to joining the Zoom. And March Madness for me is something I believe was a big nationwide tradition that was first canceled due to COVID. So now that I get to do it, now I get to make another bracket. It is kind of exciting. And another return to normalcy is, I'm not sure if you all heard, but Mr. Machula had planned something for us seniors to come in tomorrow and enjoy some hot chocolate and apple cider, even if it's not our assigned cohort day. And if it's so, I believe tomorrow is a cohort B day. And if you're in cohort A, unfortunately, you can't go into the classrooms, but obviously there's a lot of places in the school, whether it be the cafeteria or learning commons or maroon gym, that you can join your Zooms from. And now that we're in the final stretch of our senior year, it is starting to get very nostalgic, thinking about where everyone's going to go. So I think seeing some people once again is going to feel sort of normal. I'm hesitant on using that term of normal because the pandemic is still going on. And just thinking about where we're all going, I also want to recognize, if you saw the principal's blog a couple weeks ago, a senior in the class of 2021 at CCHS is actually going to be on season 13 of American Ninja Warrior, which is one of my favorite shows, which is so exciting. So congratulations to True Becker. Going into the whole topic of, because I know this is a further discussion of reopening. So seeing all our friends again, which is something that we're all looking forward to, because for me, I know that I have some friends, even some of my closest friends, I haven't been able to see in person because someone in their family has underlying health conditions and they don't want to risk it, which is obviously completely understandable given the situation that we're all in. But if we all return to school, especially with vaccination rates going up, which is awesome, there may be a slight adjustment period. And I myself do have slight worries, and I know others do too, of jumping back into school and then getting hit with a huge amount of workload because there's no longer that asynchronous work option. And I think there is just a little bit of, there's going to definitely be an adjustment period. And I think we have to remind ourselves that students kind of need that, especially with the loss that not only like students have been hit academically because of COVID, but also maybe what their families have experienced, and then trying to like form that going back into what it was before the pandemic, maybe a huge change. And I think a lot of us are very thankful for our teachers, aside from the fact that obviously they're here to teach us and present us with information and material to help expand our knowledge. I'm super thankful to say that I've had teachers who are more than that, and that they've cared about my safety and my well-being. And I've been able to reach out for them for help other than I need help with a homework assignment. And the fact that they go to school every single day, besides, when I was doing the hybrid model, I was every other day. And now that I'm full remote, I'm at home all the time. So they were already at risk more than I was. And now they just a lot of my teachers got vaccinated. And I heard that there was a little bit of like a post-sickness from the vaccination, which obviously isn't pleasant, but at least the worst is over. And I've also noticed that the teachers who have always empathized with their students and have always been willing to say, you know what, we can release our foot off the gas and we can take a little bit of a break. Those are the teachers which I really just want to work hard for. Because I appreciate them so much. And then there's some other teachers who kind of continue to pile on the workload, and it gets kind of stressful and overwhelming. And it's those teachers who are like, you have to keep up with the work, that I'm kind of a little bit like, I don't really want to do your work anymore. It's kind of like reverse psychology. I haven't taken psych at the high school. I haven't taken the psychology class ever. So maybe reverse psychology isn't a thing, but that's my interpretation of it all.
Linda, thank you for teaching us about motivation, and I mean it. And you're very articulate, but we have already recognized that in the past. So thank you so much for giving us this update.
Thank you.
But also, Linda, really for sharing your thoughts on the empathy that you're feeling and how the teachers are supporting you, because it means a lot to us too. I mean, we have so much faith in the teachers in the school. And we also, put lots of, not that it's about the time, but we worked with them, putting lots of time figuring out how this would all work. And it's really nice to hear that it's been working well. And obviously we've been saying this throughout, but hearing your words means a lot. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
And thank you, Linda. I know we all have great appreciation for all of the flexibility that the teachers have brought to this year and the administration, but we are also incredibly appreciative of the flexibility that you students continue to show. And thank you for highlighting the challenges and that you guys are facing and are considering as we're looking towards the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I can just thank you all on behalf of the students. This is obviously no easy job, and I've learned that this is now my second year being a school committee representative, and I mean, no one really saw this coming. So all we have to do is adapt and adjust the best we can, and I'm just really thankful that you all are willing to work hard for us students. And I'm really appreciative of that. And I'm sure that everyone else is too.
You make it all worthwhile.
Remind us why we're here. So thank you. And thank you for always being here. It's meant a lot this year to us, definitely. And so I think now, Heather and Court, you have a middle school building update.
We do.
Court, you go. You have more to update on than I do.
Very quickly, the design subcommittee met this morning, and we learned that, yes, the property can accommodate a larger gym. That was our question. We could see a larger gym on that property, but we were unable to come up through our architects with any economies elsewhere in the spacing and the sizing such that it would be just a direct add to the overall square footage. We're going to bring that information to the full building committee on Thursday. They meet at 7:30 in the morning. That's what I've got.
Yep. And on communications, I will say, although we haven't gotten this officially announced yet and word really spread, it is on the calendar. We have our next public forum planned. So the next community forum on the middle school is going to be the evening of March 31st. It's a Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Just in case anybody's looking for a weekend, we have heard some feedback that some people would like a weekend forum, and we are working on that and trying to fit one in at some point. But this window would have had it falling on Easter weekend, which we didn't think was a great idea. So this is going to be Wednesday the 31st. Just on another note that's kind of fun in communications, we're working on a new version of our website for the building project. And it's coming along. And we can't wait to launch that because I think it'll make it easier to just find information and see things and other stuff. But those are the highlights. Some more fun to come.
Thank you. Thank you. Eva?
Sarah, can I just make a quick comment? There's a lot of new information presented at the design subcommittee meeting, and those slides are up on the district website. And those people who are interested in seeing that new information can view those slides, and then maybe if they're interested, attend the meeting on Thursday morning.
And Concord Carlisle Adult Community Education will be meeting this Friday at 11 a.m. on Zoom. Everyone is welcome. The programming, the paper copy of the programming is in everyone's mailbox, so please take a look. There's a lot of great offerings. Sign up, and such as the armchair travel to Britain and Belgium. So a lot of great offerings. And they're hoping that families will participate. Thank you. That's it.
Thanks. I attended and I know that there were a few, I know that Eva and Fatima and I think Alexa were there, and I'm sorry if other people were there and I didn't see you, but we attended the METCO and Families Organizing for Racial Justice panel discussion on segregation in suburban schools. It's worth noting that METCO said it's their most RSVP'd to ever event with about 500 people RSVPing. And I think then they had something over 260 people who were also there. So I didn't see your name. It's because there were a lot of us. It was a great conversation about the strengths and challenges facing students in the METCO program, the program itself, The panelists included students, a teacher who advocated for, a parent who advocated the audit in her district, and other stakeholders. And I'm not going to be able to do justice to what everybody said, but there is a link through Metco to see the discussion on YouTube. And so I recommend that anyone check that out. And I mean, I think like the biggest takeaway from it, I think, was that like they say that like what we see as normal right now is not normal, and normal's not good. And that to generate change, everybody really needs to be intentional, insistent, and inspirational. And that's, I think, they really walk the walk in that in this form. So
Thank you.
and there's lots of, there's an email they sent as a follow-up that was full of resources and information about upcoming events. I'm happy to pass it along to anybody who's interested if you haven't already received it. And that goes to the greater community. I don't know where we could put that information. We have a way to put it somewhere, but a lot of great things coming our way. So.
And it might be on the Metco Inc. website as well, which is probably an easy search for us.
Yeah, I tried to find it there. I couldn't find it easily. I mean, the way it's done in the email that they sent is just really concise and really organized. So we'll try to figure out a way. Maybe we can put it in our, I don't know. We'll talk about it. Gordon, you and I can talk about how we can share that.
We'll find a way to make it easy.
But anyone can email the school committee and I'll send it to you. Are there any other updates or reports? No. Then we have correspondence. I had a letter inquiring about the high school's plan to return to full in-person, which I know is something that Dr. Hunter is speaking about tonight. So, and then also a letter about the possibility of recognizing CCHS grads who have died in military service. And Dr. Hunter and I are looking into this right now.
And the Concord Public Schools over the last week received 10 pieces of correspondence regarding the work underway on the position related to diversity and equity and inclusion. Some of those correspondence were representing a number of other people. So actually the number of people involved was far greater than the 10 communications that came our way. And then we had 2 additional in regard to the efforts underway to expand in-school time. And then one that I'm thinking was a marketing outreach of no consequence.
Your expiring warranty on your car. And then, so Dr. Hunter, please, on that note right now, can you bring us up to date on plans for the high school post-April break?
I would be happy to. I'm going to actually screen share an updated version of last week's document. We pulled this together a little faster than anticipated, partly because there's a chicken and the egg factor that until we commit to a plan, we don't have the data we need to do the next steps in the plan. So this is the official discussion and notification of our intent to return all of the high school students full-time as of April 26th. The kids will go to their regular classrooms. So they will be in class as if, well, not quite pre-COVID, but closer than we've been in over a year. It's important to notice, and I'll skip over a minute here, that will require some spaces to be at 3-foot distance. We actually think we can do better than that in many classrooms, not to 6, but not all the way down to 3. But we just want to be sure people all know what they're signing on for. Fully remote will remain an option for kids for the rest of the year. So just like with the K-8 schools, a survey is going to go out really quickly and ask for a commitment. And we do need that to be a commitment so that whatever you do from April 26th to June 16th is the plan. I think because of the high school fluidity, and it's been a strength up until now with a space issue, coming, we really need to slow down that flexibility, and kids really need to come if they're in person and we've had a lot of ability for kids to pick their own days, even pick their own parts of the day. And we really need all of that tightened up. So if it's a full-time in-person choice you make, we do need you in school 5 days a week. If you stay remote, then you're home 100% of the time, and a little more binary than we've been. Lunch will be 6 foot distanced. We will be outside unless that is not an option. And we are already identifying common spaces in the building for hopefully very few inclement weather days. Tents are on the way. We are working on Wi-Fi outside so we can have as many options as out there as possible. The next big project here, which we are working on already at elementary this week, this task of transportation and how kids are getting to us and traffic flow and all of that is going to be quite massive. So there will be a survey that goes out very shortly, probably next week, asking if you aren't on a bus and you really would like to be, we'll put you on this waiting list. We are going with 3 foot distancing on the buses. So we may have some space. We first need to combine the 2 cohorts together, see if we have space for the kids who've already been riding, and then see what our capacity is beyond that. Mr. Mastrulo is looking at parking. We expect not to make many changes, which I understand for the seniors may mean they're not able to drive 5 days a week, or well, let's qualify that, not able to park 5 days a week. So we've got details to sort through there. That's a work in progress and a discussion. Some more to come on that. Of great note is the furniture situation. We have desks throughout all the common spaces on the lower floors. Those are going to all go up to the classrooms over the April break. Jared's office is looking at what our options are for appropriately physically distanced furniture for the common spaces, learning commons, cafeteria, probably the maroon gym. Just making sure we've got all that adequate separation for especially lunch if we need to eat inside. Staff is being surveyed. There's a student survey being worked on to go out. It's going to go out a little bit later because we made the plan so quickly. We wanted to capture more of the fact that we are going back, not whether you would like to, but that we are. And a parent survey is also on its way. You saw and I know we talked a little bit about this last week, Mr. Mastrulo referenced MCAS and AP testing. MCAS is a disruption the weeks of May 5th and 19th. The kids who are testing will be in and everyone else will be virtual just so we can manage it. APs right now are all virtual. A little highlight that, I think we've had a lot of interest in, especially by the seniors, and Linda's so articulate. We're working really hard to make plans for the senior class. As I got ready to come on this meeting, the student student government sent us a proposal for a prom. Creative, outside. I won't get into all the details because I've hardly read the really detailed proposal. So we'll be reviewing all of the options and safety plans and trying to see how much we can come up with. We understand how much kids need to have some of these activities in safe ways. So we will keep you posted on that. So pretty big endeavor ahead of us here, but I think overall we're excited. I feel, especially this week, we've had 7 cases in 3 days now since Sunday. And so it's just really important to remember we're still in COVID. COVID's still spreading. We've quarantined a lot of people in the last 3 days. The closer we are together, the more that's going to happen. And just really asking for a lot of cooperation. And one last pitch for, if you're willing and interested to be in the asymptomatic testing, it's just going to be more and more important as we all come back to school. It will help us know what we need to know to hopefully mitigate any spread. So we're off and running here. everybody's back full time by the week after break, and we will keep you posted on the planning as it progresses.
Lori, two questions, if I might.
Sure.
Thank you for bringing us all up to date on this. Do you believe that the cases that we're learning of represent a plateau in what was once a decline, or are we already seeing an uptick?
Yeah, I would give you both the state and local answer. The state answer is the decline has plateaued between, somewhere 1,000 to 1,500 a day. The local answer is we had a 6-day hiatus with no cases last week. Lulled us a little bit, I'll be honest. And the truth is we're not that far out of it all. So I don't feel like it's a great uptick. I feel like we kind of got back to what probably normal is going to be. What we're really going to be watching for is in-school transmission, obviously. So this is most of these cases are still all exposures outside of the home, or outside of school through the home, or social events. No school transmission at this point. But 3 feet's going to mitigate that, perhaps.
That no school transmission to date is a credit to everybody who's doing, students and staff and faculty alike, doing the best they can. Your reference to transportation on a slide indicated that transportation is looking at maintaining service to those who have been using it. And I'm left wondering, does that mean there is or is not room for expanded bus transportation?
There definitely is at the elementaries, which is what we're working on right now. They're still crunching the runs at middle and high school as they combine the cohorts and see what that capacity is. We actually had such generous outpouring of parent transportation support that we actually think we will have some space. Will we have enough for everyone? No. If everyone wants a seat, that's not possible. So we're trying to navigate a middle here for those that really need the help.
Good to know. And warm weather is on the way, thankfully.
Yeah, and we're gearing up for bikes to come back out. We've got Safe Schools working on bike safety training with the K-8 kids. And really strategizing. We know now that's going to be a primary mode as the weather improves, versus the fall where it sort of just happened and we weren't as expecting it. So we're looking forward to that too.
Good, thank you.
And just to qualify, we did have school transmission in Alcott in December, so I don't want to misspeak there. We did. We contained it to 2 classrooms and didn't have any further. So we're always watching to hope that doesn't happen again.
Regarding biking, one of my car thoughts is I thought maybe we should make the investment and invest for kids who are walking and biking. It really makes a difference, even during the day. It's like overkill, but for drivers, just a little bit distracted, that color really makes it much safer. So,
good thought. Good thought.
I just have one question about the parking, our favorite topic. So we're not confident there's enough space to have the seniors park on campus?
Well, so the COVID miracle was that the juniors got spaces because they were sharing. So the challenge is, do we take those back or do we don't have an answer here. I'm just posing what the problems are. But the juniors have been able to park for the first time in a long time. And to allow all the seniors to park, we'd have to take the spots back from the juniors from April 26th till the seniors are done.
Right.
I don't even know if we have the manpower for that level of rearranging, but we're talking about it for sure.
Okay.
So
it would seem that they should, some, I know. Have a challenge, but I think we should err a little bit on the other side. Okay. And then just sort of related, I know that the tent is taking up some spaces. Is it really being used at this point?
Outside in the parking lot?
Yeah.
It isn't being used because the town hasn't had vaccine access. I know they had submitted an application to be part of a regional distribution center, so I can check in on that and hear if they've gotten any feedback.
Right.
Yeah. So good point. Good question.
Yeah.
Dr. Hunter, do we know how many of our teachers were able to sign up for an appointment or were able to at least get a first dose as of right now? I know those
do. Okay. We actually surveyed them today because we wanted to know. And I am pulling this up live. And as of right now, I have 237 staff responses that they've been at least either fully or partially vaccinated, K-12. We can break that out once we get.
Out of what, Lori? Is it 700-ish staff?
700. Yeah. Yeah.
Just to
Good
make,
start.
yeah, just to make everybody's life easier, it's definitely not appropriate for anybody to ask individual teachers about that.
Correct.
Yes, because it's.
And I'm going to qualify my data there is voluntary disclosure. So
Completely understand, but
yeah.
it seems like the right thing to do, but it's not. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's in a week's time. So that's encouraging for sure. And hopefully we'll just all continue to see progress there. But we are growing confident that by the later part of April, it seems we're going to be in really good shape, especially middle and high school with the less distant plan.
Mhm.
I'm seeing the Governor Baker's announcing his plan tomorrow morning to vaccinate all the population that's eligible. So we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Thank you.
Yeah, so CDC is again reviewing the 3 and 6 feet because they have realized that the districts that might have used less than 6 feet distance might not have been close to that 3 feet. So it sounds like we will be learning of any changes, if anything,
Right.
as we're going through the process of coming back.
Yeah. The good news is most spaces, as we've been measuring, look like we're closer to 4 or even 5. It looks like it's not the norm that we're going to be all the way down to 3. So that's good news too. But yeah, we're going to kind of live this a little bit, and share data as we have it.
Thank you. It's amazing. We were one of the first districts to get back into school. And definitely those saving those 10 days to pepper through the year has been a great help. And again, this is all about the flexibility, right? And what it takes. That's what it takes, is a commitment to the flexibility.
And the teamwork. And the teamwork.
The time, the energy, and commitment from the administration, from the CCTA, the teachers, the staff, the students, of course, and all of the school committee members too. So thank you. Thank you for that.
Definitely a team effort here and a team commitment to give this a try. High schools are going to be the last you'll see go online in the other districts. I know my colleagues are, and some of them are ready to move and others are just trying to figure it out. We're kind of just diving in and decided we know how, we will figure it out. So making our way through it.
Great. Any other questions about that before we move on to old business? No. Okay. So Lori, you have some stuff to share with us about equity leadership structure before the budget.
Yeah.
And
let me share a few. These are really basic slides, but I think they capture.
Yeah, and I just want to say thank you for indulging this extra week of thought and time looking into this. I know we've heard some great feedback. It's given us a chance to hear some great feedback from the community, to have richer conversations with everybody, or at least not, probably not everybody, but with various stakeholders. And I think that it's just reaffirmed our commitment to this step forward.
Yeah, I would echo that. It was time very well spent by this committee and by the administration. And I think we'll begin to see the top level results of that right now.
Yeah. And this is very high level, but I think it captures what we need to share out for our recommended plan. So you'll remember we've been talking about directors of equity and kind of working on the rest of the language. So our recommendation tonight is Director of Equity and Inclusion. And by that, we really mean all kids feeling welcome and included at school. And we can talk more on the job description and the roles as we get further into it. It's a definite district-wide position across all of the buildings, all of the grade levels, every aspect of what our schools do. Some highlights, which I think you've seen in some of the other slides previously, and this is not at all a full list. This is just some selected highlights. Curriculum, professional development, hiring, student engagement, community relationships. And I'm sure that list is much, much longer, and we can flesh that out as we move forward. One thing
Lori, if I might, by student engagement, sure. I believe that committee and you would frame that as somebody who's going to really support that effort towards student engagement between faculty and students, that this is not somebody who's going to be student focused as a teacher might be.
Correct. Yes. Okay. Thank you for clarifying. Yeah. And then we've had a lot of talk about the way Metco would be structured, and essentially we've left it fairly status quo in terms of leadership, with a Metco director is the recommendation. And what we have proposed is more academic support, liaison roles, full-time liaison roles at all three schools, which right now, as you know, is Alcott, the middle school and the high school, and a combination of tutors and or part-time teachers at each of the schools as well. And actually, that's an exciting balance to have the high-level equity director role really focused on the big picture work that we're all really so committed to, while we have maintain and support and even further academic and other supports to our Metco population. And I think we found the balance. That, to your point, I think these last few weeks have been very well spent. So that's very high level, but I think it's summarized, which is where we are tonight.
And I think it captures much of the community sentiment that has come our way. That I believe is the school committee's thinking on it right now. Not that that dialogue has concluded with this. Instead, it's about to expand. But
right.
We hope that the community will find this does largely reflect what has come our way, in addition to the beliefs that are shared by this school committee on behalf of the folks that we are serving.
And the money part we're going to get to when we get to the budget.
I just wanted to add that the positions of the Metco liaisons and using teachers and tutors, Metco teachers and tutors, that really reflects the commitment to listening to our students and their need to have those opportunities to see people like them, and to have those windows when they are in school, to have those role models. So thank you.
Laura, can I just point out for anyone listening, I think we're all on the same page. We love the title of diversity, equity, inclusion. And just in the slide, I think the diversity was left out. It said director of equity.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Director
Correct.
of diversity, equity, inclusion, right? Which I know is what you meant, but just wanted to point it out for anyone watching.
We've been really focused on the inclusion word.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So hold on just a second. I think we want to stay on this topic for a moment.
Yeah. And so in terms of fulfilling this role, do you see posting internally for it, or?
I do think that is my intent, is to post internally, see if there's any internal applicants, and then go from there. But I think that's our starting point.
For the diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Yeah.
And then
Yes.
for the director, the MECO director, No, we're not, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have to let this all play out, I think, without trying to predict the bottom line future.
Yeah.
So, we're gonna look internally for the equity director, because I do see benefits to someone who knows us very well and has trust and respect among the community. If there's a vacancy at the MECO director position, then we will
No,
obviously.
I meant the tutor, the high school,
The liaison.
the liaison, yes.
Yes,
Sorry,
so that,
thrown around so many.
I know, it's
The
layered.
high school liaison, I assume we're going to be able to utilize those resources that METCO has with all their network of and reach
Definitely,
of the prospective candidates. for that
definitely,
Position, fantastic.
definitely.
Good. I think this is such an important step forward. There are many more steps to follow, but
Yes.
this is heartening, I think, for all of us. And we know how strongly you feel about it, Dr. Hunter.
Yeah, I think it's just exciting to have someone dedicated to the work that is off to such a really passionate start. And we've seen important progress. And I think this is how we really capitalize on the progress to take it to another level.
It's very exciting. Thank you for pulling this together. It's fabulous.
No, thank you. So, support from you in so many different ways. It's been really invaluable.
Great. Are there any other questions, thoughts, comments from committee members? No? Okay, now you can bring us to the budget that you had referenced earlier. And I just, again, I feel like this is a night of a lot of acknowledgements. I just want to say, when we started this budget process, it's been a very condensed budget process. When we should have been starting it, we were still working on the 21 budget. And when you first started talking to us about the budget, we thought we'd be looking at 2 budgets now. And so I just appreciate the commitment to even in this condensed environment. I really appreciate the commitment to diligence and thoroughness on behalf of everybody on the committee, and the part of you, Lori, and Jared, and everyone who's supporting you. So
yeah, it's the entire team for sure, and I think that's why we're feeling good about the numbers we brought you, because we were able to dig in despite the conditions we're doing it under. So, Jared, do you want to bring up where we kind of left off at a final discussion here last week? So I think we need to pick it up where we left off and answer any other questions you have and see how we go. We do, just one point of context, the warrants are due the 19th. So we are now in the days of deadlines. So just we'll want to factor that in.
Great. So I'll just go over this slide. If you remember, at the end of the meeting last week, we were charged with the task of looking for reductions in software. So I'll just go over this with you now and explain where we're at. So currently, the superintendent's recommended budget is $35,759,374. The software budget, which is made up of the 12 departments below, is $136,255. We were able to come up with a 10% reduction, which would be $13,625. Therefore, the new software budget is $122,630. And if that holds, the new budget would be $35,745,749.
And I want to note here, this is instructional software, not management software.
Yeah.
And departments impacted, that means that these departments would be examining, as we expect, their use of software going forward, knowing that there were some potentially radical changes this year. I'm not hearing you say that students are going to be impacted. And we trust that wouldn't be necessary. But I'm sure we'll get more information as there's more assessment of what's going to get carried forward post-COVID and what is going to be left behind.
Great. So these 12 departments, we created 12 new lines. And here are the name actually of each line. And I just want to remind everyone that while it looks like software is going up, this 136,000, these were embedded in other lines. They were in supply lines. I wouldn't even be surprised if they sometimes were in a contracted services potentially. So going forward, we're going to know exactly what we spend in software. And it's going to be highly vetted by Mrs. Hurwitz's department and curriculum. So I just want to point that out. So we did have savings in other lines that did offset this. So this isn't all new money.
And this is certainly phase one of more work to be done. We need to examine the innovation and the positives of what we've been doing. We need to look at what's redundant, what could be fiscally consolidated, what just isn't maybe of maximum benefit to teachers and kids. And that's certainly the work that's coming next. And, we need to land back at the balancing place post-COVID that balances technology as a really useful, purposeful learning tool, which I think we've done that this year. It's just been forced to be one of the primary modes. And that's what we need to shift so that we just get back to what it really is meant to be, which is an instructional tool, not the sole platform. So that's going to take a little bit as we make our way through the unknowns of the spring and maybe even the fall. But that's the work that's underway and will continue.
And I would hope we can also capture whatever assessment was happening in the moment too, because certainly teachers and department heads and certainly principals were aware of what was happening, even if they didn't have time to do formal assessments. I trust some data has accumulated.
Oh, sure. And, I could even rattle off stories of some really amazing, innovative assessment strategies using the technology instead of rote tests that were, started this year. And some of that work was some of our long-term planning in objectives over time. So we don't want to lose that as we sort of vet through all this. So a lot to capture.
So can I ask a question, make a comment?
Yeah.
So my initial reaction to the cutting software, to be honest, is not necessarily positive. I feel like we're still operating in pandemic mode to be cutting that number, that line item, just to cut it when we don't know yet exactly which ones we want to keep monitoring and want to work with, et cetera. I feel like that's not a great idea given all of the uncertainty. That said, we were just talking about a DEI position and keeping a Metco position as director. And I know I'm assuming you're about to tell us about the potential impact of that. And so I'm kind of keeping an open mind on potentially needing to make these cuts to software if we need to support something else. Is that potentially the direction where this would go?
Yeah, I mean, we can get to that part of this discussion if you want to skip leave the technology for a minute and talk on the impact of the director of equity and diversity.
I feel like the two tie together, and so
I think, and they could, sure. Jared, do you have the numbers for the revised plan there that we just shared, just for the region, because we're talking high school right now?
So we have the coordinator is 75,000,
which we've now is going to be a director, Jared, at 90.
At 90, and then the the coordinator and the liaison. The liaison was 60,000.
And so some of that is budgeted for because we had proposed it last week when we were here. So the delta is that 75 to 90,000 for the director to maintain a director position if that's the goal.
And so to me, again, not that the software and the DEI would otherwise relate, but to me, if we suddenly need 15 in order to support this director level role at Metco, which we all think is very important, then it could be worth shaving that 13 off of the software line and making it work in order to somehow support that director level Metco position. So, just
right. And they really have been two different conversations for the last week that are really just coming together tonight.
Right. So. And I'm saying make that support the other. I know they're not exactly the same. Jared, you just said 13 and we're talking 15, but I'm assuming that
correct.
Somewhere out of contingency we could find 2,000.
So
Laurie, you make a good point. The two were not one conversation. In fact, it was a week ago that there was some consensus that there was room in the software account. So that was quite independent.
Right.
I think both decisions stand on their own. And in the context of a $28 million budget are not hugely significant.
Right.
What they do is significant, but the money is something I think this committee and you and Jared have in hand quite nicely.
So if you were to consider the savings in the technology as part of the differential for the Metco director, I think you'd go back to last week's recommended
budget. Go back to
number.
The original number.
Right.
That's what I'm envisioning.
Right.
Other thoughts on that?
None other than I would totally be behind that.
Mm-hmm. All right. Anything else on the budget?
Actually, I have a question. So if the school committee does end up going back to that recommended budget, would you want the reductions to show up in the software lines, or you just, because we will eventually have savings. We know that in these lines, that savings will be applied to a contingency, and that contingency can then fund the delta in the Metco director's position. Instead of shaving off these lines, all 12 of these lines. And so keep the line items as is, or would you want to show that 10% reduction in these lines and moved into that, line?
Good question. You can poll us. My answer is pull it out and put it back in again later if you have to, because we decided it was a legitimate, responsible move. But the money's there if indeed students need it.
I would agree that we pull it out and put it into the the Metco director line, because if that's what we're planning to do, let's be clear now. Since we have the chance to change that and be clear about it now, right? Mm-hmm. Now, I say that, is that realistic, Jared, for us to still, all we're voting tonight is the overall number, right?
Yeah, honestly, I'm thinking ahead of the story for FY23 when I'm back here in front of you and trying to just explain what happened. So no, I just wanted clarity.
Trying to remind you what we did.
Well, that's the beauty of zero. That's the beauty of zero base. It stands on its own legs every year.
Yes, it does. Yes. Yes.
Excellent. That makes sense. If everyone's okay with that, then that's easy to do.
Great.
We talked about this so much last week, but I still think there's a lot of cuts we can make in software, particularly, it's not so much at the region, and I think we're going to have a lot of additional Biden money. And I would ask that we push the software off into the Biden money, if at all possible, and we have excess, we can return it to the towns. It would just be very clear that it's that kind of a negotiation.
Point well taken, especially in times where we are expecting an infusion of money.
And the towns are getting much less money than the schools.
Yeah, and the town gave us money.
Yeah, exactly.
We're all in this together.
Yes.
I have a question, Dr. Hunter. I wondered if you had any follow-up in terms of the controls on the hardwares on the computers that we are equipping our students, especially when they're taking them home and using them in the classroom.
So I think, and I made this recommendation last week, and I think I'll expand on it a little bit tonight. I would suggest that we bring a warrant article, an agenda item to one of our agendas in April to start this conversation. We'll have IT start to put together the options. We have really tight firewalls at school. The ask that I hear is to understand what the options are for kids when they're home and restricting them and limiting their ability for some distraction. And I think we need to vet that and really all come to what the goal is, hear what the options are, and then, use the spring as time to talk all that through and give us direction. I think it was mentioned last week, which I think is accurate, that the summer is the time to really implement and set us up for whatever we're going to do. We are collecting all the laptops this summer, and so it's a perfect time for whatever reset we're going to do before they're distributed in the fall. So that's my recommendation as we start that conversation in April, if that's the will of the committee.
I think the community will be delighted. I think it'll be a useful agenda item for us, certainly.
Sure.
Thank you.
Was there any differentiation between the high school and the younger grades?
I would think so, but we'll need to talk all that through. For sure. And I think you'll want to consider that the younger grades, we're not going to be sending any devices home K-5 after April 5th. So that might impact your conversation.
There's a 612 conversation.
Yes, it is. Yes.
And this conversation will not be tied into the review of strategically what is helpful to our students in terms of technology, what has worked. We stepped into that conversation early in the pandemic, considering that this will be our great experiment, right? And we'll learn a lot coming out of the pandemic.
Right.
Are we combining those two, or?
I think they're separate buckets under the same umbrella. Like the umbrella is technology use, but I feel like they're separate discussions that inform each other. I'm certain, but probably are explored separately.
And Dr. Hunter, do you foresee any disruptions as you are going? I looked at some of the cuts on the software. Special education software is also listed. We know that pandemic was not easy for students on IEP plans, that they have regressed. Will there be an adaptation to a new way of learning? Changes they cause more disruption in that population? Are you foreseeing any troubles? I personally, I understand that as a school committee and administration was looking at doing the cuts in this software. My concern is, we're still in it. So, do we want to cause any more pains?
And I think that's some of the work Jared's still referencing, that right now we're taking a 10% cut from yet to be identified spots. So it's not a sure thing that it'll be special education. What I do know is that, the technology is an incredible way for kids to access different content, different production tools. It's really a great equalizer in many ways, text to speech and all those kinds of tools. We don't want to throw the baby in the bathwater as we're having this conversation. So that's a great point. We want to make sure we're using all that it can offer us to benefit those with different needs.
And I also wanted to add that, for students on IEPs, special education students, you are allowing for a lot more inclusion when they have many ways and many forms of expressing their knowledge to the teacher.
Sure.
It sounds like this was a great experiment to see what really works in our school for that purpose.
That's what we're going to learn.
Yeah. Yep. And multiple ways to express what you know and learn is good for everybody, right? So we'll back to our inclusive conversation for sure.
If there are no other questions, Cynthia, did you?
Nope, there's just,
Then I think we can move on to the vote to approve the budget. Third.
So you are going to vote last week's number, not this week. So let me put it up for you.
Should be in the agenda.
Yes, but not last week's, correct?
Right, not this week.
So I went to last week's agenda and pulled up the number you were looking at a week ago.
Wait a minute.
Jared, is that correct?
That's the number. Yeah, it should be, it's linked.
No, but the one linked from today was the lower number.
Right. So this is the number linked to last
No,
week's.
it's not. The link is the same.
Yeah, it's current.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The link is the same. I move that the town raise and appropriate the sum of $35,759,374 as the town's apportioned share of the Concord Carlisle Regional School District budget for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2022, and that the same be expended only for such purposes and under the direction of the Concord Carlisle Regional School Committee.
I second.
And we'll note that there's an article that accompanies this, and we will further note that this is representative of the number of last week, and that there have been the line item adjustments underway that we have discussed.
Further discussion?
Yes, I want to acknowledge the FinComs from both towns and the attention they have given to this and the genuine effort they have made to understand student needs and district needs. Once again.
And let's acknowledge Jared and keeping up with all of our moving pieces that we throw at him.
Group effort.
All the work that went into this.
thank you, Jared and Lori. Appreciate it.
You are welcome.
You ready for me?
Yes.
Anderson, I.
Booth, aye.
Out on.
Ms. Dead, aye.
Mustafi, aye.
Rainy eye?
Wilson, aye. Thank you. And with that,
I will move to free Sarah and Eva and adjourn the regional meeting.
Second,
okay, roll call.
Anderson, I.
Booth, aye.
Out aye.
Ms. Dead, aye.
Mustafi, aye.
Rainy eye?
Wilson, aye. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, you too.
Thanks, everybody.
So the Concord Public School Committee will remain in session, and we'll be moving to old business shortly. Dr. Hunter, do you want to preempt it with any updates around reopening or anything else? I'm not suggesting you should. I think we're in pretty good shape there, but just want to put it your way if you need to.
Yeah, I'll just stay at a high level of there's an awful lot of things, a lot of work going on and a lot of planning and a lot of regrouping, and thank you to the parent community. We're getting responses really quick when we need them, and really good. So thank you. It's a collaborative effort. We'll look forward to keeping you posted.
Wonderful. Thank you. Perfect. We will.
I meant to ask it before. Are you seeing any kids return from homeschooling?
Yes.
And
In fact, Mr. Cameron just emailed me. His survey closed yesterday. He's cut his remote learning numbers in half. So there'll be about 45 kids learning remotely. And I know at elementary, through my office, about 5 elementary families re-enrolled from homeschool. So it's a moving target still, but we are definitely seeing kids return.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah. So we'll ask you to give us an update on the budget, if you would, Dr. Hunter and Mr. Stanton.
So the conversation's similar, only apply to CPS, and with a focus primarily on middle school, as asked by the committee last week. So Jared, I'll turn it over to you from there, and then we can take questions.
Great. So very similar conversation. The recommended budget was $41,708,424. The middle school software budget was $66,764. This impacted 10 departments. There was 10 new lines created at the middle school. So a 10% reduction would be $6,676. New software budget would be just over $60,000. Therefore, the new budget with the 10% reduction would be $41,701,748. And same thing, that while this number does look like it is an increase, there were offsets in other lines: contract services, supplies and materials, curriculum, textbooks.
And were we to align CPS with the region, we would consider restoring this as a potential offset to the K-8 contribution toward the new positions around diversity, equity, and inclusion. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay. So we can achieve those economies on the instructional software and consider it a partial offset, even though technically they're not related. They happen to be discussed in the same meeting as we finalize the budget.
I'm in support of exactly what Court said.
I would note that, as we said at the regional discussion, I look forward to the scrutiny that our instructional practices and our technology, hardware, software, hold for both student benefit, teacher use, and costs, and look forward to, again, those discussions around the district's analysis of same over the next several months.
Just so we're very clear, this is pre-K through 8. I think we had some confusion in what we were looking for in cuts last meeting. So I guess we just need to be a little more clear about what the scope of the work.
I would support that. An examination is an examination. If we built this plane while we were flying it, as we sometimes say, we've got to now decide which parts we maintain and why, and which parts we discard, and that would be pre-K to 8.
Sure. So just for clarity on my intention of saying that, last week we asked to look at middle school, but between last week and this week's meeting, but of course we're going to look at all of pre-K-8 as an overall part of the process.
Yeah, we let the K-5 go simply because your early indication was that you didn't see a way yet.
Right.
So I'd call it a postponement, not a permanent deferral. Because there's a lot we all want to learn.
Yep,
you more than anybody, I'm sure, Dr. Hunter.
Sure. And when would our next update be in the FY21 budget?
You knew that was coming, right, Jared?
Yeah.
Would it be at our next meeting, whenever that is?
Yeah.
So probably 2 weeks' time.
Yeah. I owe two variance reports.
And then the update on the CARES Act or whatever other money we have.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Questions, comments, concerns about the budget? Mr. Stanton, you have made certain that the slides attached reference the original budget, if I'm correct. That number of $41,708,424.
That is correct.
Oops.
So would somebody else care to commit us to this recommendation in the form of a motion, Heather?
Absolutely, I would love to. I would like to move. Oh, you're even putting in front of me. I was going to switch screens. Thank you. So this motion is actually what goes into the warrant, but above that, isn't there what I'm supposed to move first?
That's what there is tonight.
Yeah,
So,
thank you. So I would move, right, that the Concord Carlisle School Committee, excuse me, vote to approve the CPS FY 2022 budget motion and article as presented, and that the motion, the article will read as such, and the motion will read that the town appropriates the sum of $41,708,424 for the necessary and expedient purposes of the public schools of the town for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2022, and that the same be expended only for such purposes and under the direction of the Concord School Committee.
Second.
Can we just vote?
Yes.
Last time we talked. Okay, Anderson, I.
Booth, aye.
Shout aye.
Messtad, aye.
Rainey, aye.
Whew. Guys, we did it. We finally passed our budgets. Jared, you're free of this discussion for a while now.
Thank you guys so much.
For the next meeting.
Right.
What, we failed to do this. When is our next meeting?
So we have one slated for next week, the 23rd. However, because we added tonight's meeting, it wasn't on the original calendar, we may be able to forego it. Sarah Wilson and I will consult with Dr. Hunter tomorrow.
Okay.
And we'll have this decided by tomorrow.
Because I do notice we have our next meeting be April 6th.
Right.
So it does mean
That's-
yeah.
Yeah.
So I misspoke when I said 2 weeks for Jared. It would indeed be, 3 weeks if we don't meet next week.
And then we have another big gap to April 27th. So I'll leave it up to you and Sarah to look forward to all the work we've yet to do this year. It might not be considerable.
I promise you we'll take a careful look at that. We're doing our best to avoid the grueling meetings that frankly are just tough on everybody involved. If we can keep our meetings to 3 or 3.5 hours, that's fine. The 5-hour marathons have been rough, although we've examined those meetings, looked back on them and thought, well, we just didn't want to shortchange any of the discussion. It all seemed good, although challenging. But you can feel free to prompt us to move us all along more quickly if you wish.
And it's up to you and Dr. Hunter. Do we need a meeting before we reopen on the 5th? Or no, maybe not.
I think we certainly need a meeting between now and April 6th. So let's look at the calendar and see how it all falls.
I mean, if there are two gaps of 3 weeks, instead of plugging in 2 in the middle there and having 3, maybe you take the one off and you do every 2 weeks for the next 6 weeks. I mean, that.
Right. So the takeaway for tonight is hold your Tuesdays.
Right.
At least till tomorrow, and hopefully we can free you of maybe one.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, instead of waiting until that April, you move it to the 20, whatever,
Yeah, we do have the April break. So that's sort of
30th or something.
Correct.
Wherever that is.
I mean, if we left the 6th on the 6th and I brought you a how's it going for 2 days? That's a pretty important report too. So as we bring everybody in.
Yeah, true too.
Yeah, good.
Well,
Okay, let's figure that out.
Jared, express your thanks to everybody who contributed to the process that you and Dr. Hunter brought to a close with us tonight. You've got our thanks.
Jared, what is your sort of soft deadline for the budget book?
April 30th.
Okay.
April 30th.
Okay.
Any other
I
comments?
did send a message out to all the principals and told them that we're now in FY23 budget season. That is coming.
Another cheerer-upper, huh?
Because they don't have anything else going on.
All right. We want to thank everybody who was in on the call tonight. Thank you for joining us. And we look forward to gathering again in 1 or 2 weeks. Keep an eye on the district website if you'd be so kind. Is there a motion for adjournment, please?
So moved.
City's fast tonight. I couldn't beat her.
All right. With that, roll call, please.
Anderson, I.
Booth, aye.
About aye.
Bestad, aye.
Randy, aye.
Good
Thanks.
night, all.
Bye, guys.
Good night.